grade, welcome back. So today what we're going to do is we're going to talk about multiplying by 0 and by 1. Now when we multiply by 0 and we multiply by 1, we have to keep in mind what we learned from the first video where we're still thinking of groups and how many items are in each group. So let's say that we're multiplying by 1. Let's say we have 5 times 1. So if you remember from video 1, when we see that multiplication symbol, I want you to think of groups of. And then when we draw our picture, it'll make a little more sense. So right now we have 5 groups of 1. So first let's draw 5 groups. So there's my 5 groups, and now I have to put 1 in each group. And now to find my answer, I have to count, well, how many things do I have in each of the groups all together? So if I count them, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 groups with 1 in each group means I have 5 items. Let's try another one. Let's do 3 times 1. So same thing, when I see my multiplication sign, I want to think of groups of. So I need to draw 3 groups of 1. So here's my 3 groups. I put 1 in each group. And then I count how many items I have in my groups. So I have 1, 2, 3 items. So that tells me 3 groups of 1 is 3. Now, do you see a pattern emerging when we multiply by 1? You're about to if you don't. So let's try a couple more. Let's do 2 times 1. So I have my 2 times 1. I draw my 2 groups. I draw my 1 in each group. I count my items. 1, 2 is 2. Let's do 7 times 1. So same thing, I make my 7 groups. I put 1 item in each group. I count up my items. And I have 7. So if you see the pattern, hopefully you do, you might notice that when we multiply by 1, we get the number we multiplied as our answer. So 5 times 1 equals 5. 2 times 1 equals 2. 3 times 1 equals 3. 7 times 1 equals 7. 4 times 1 equals 4. 100 times 1 equals 100. 1,000,000 times 1 equals 1,000,000. Because remember, what we're doing is we have these groups, but we only have 1 in each group. And since we count them, we're only going to get as much as we put in. So when we multiply by 1, our answer is always going to be that number that we are multiplying by. Now let's talk about what happens when we're multiplying by 0. Okay, so let's talk about multiplying by 0. Now when we multiply by 0, we do the same thing as when we multiply by 1 when it comes to setting up our problem. So let's try, 4 times 0. So we set it up the same way. We think of multiplying as groups of, and then we draw our picture. So this is telling me I have 4 groups of 0. So I can draw my 4 groups. But since I have 4 groups of 0, I have nothing to put into my groups. So that means I have nothing to count. So if I have 4 empty groups, do I have any items? And the answer is no, I don't. So 4 times 0 is 0 because I don't have anything to put inside my groups. They're empty. So let's try another multiplication by 0 problem. So let's do 7 times 0. So I set it up the same way. I make my 7 groups. But again, I run into the same thing that happened with 4 times 0. Since I have 7 groups, but I don't have anything to put in them, then that means my answer is 0 because I don't have any items to count. So 7 times 0 equals 0 as well. I know it's a little hard to see because of that glare, but it'll be okay. All right, let's do another one. Let's see if we can see another pattern that's emerging. Let's do 2 times 0. All right, so I set it up the same way. 2 groups of 0. So here's my 2 groups. I don't have anything to put in my groups, so do I have any items to count? No, I don't. So that means 2 times 0 is 0. Do we see a pattern? You should, because anytime you multiply a number by 0 or you multiply 0 times a number, it's always going to be 0, because either you're not going to have any items to put in your groups, or you're not going to have any groups for your items, and you need both in order to solve a multiplication sentence. So either way, anytime you multiply by 0, it's 0. Anytime you multiply by 1, it's going to be that number that you multiplied by. So hopefully this helps you get through your iReady lessons today. We will be doing more with multiplying by 2s and 3s and 4s and 5s and all those fun numbers next week. So look out for those videos because they're coming soon. Hope you enjoyed this one. See ya next time.